with Zain Jan. Just got done with the interview right now. This guy right here is, I don't know, I seen an article, future billionaire, future self-made
That's what some
billionaire.
people like to say.
That's what they like to say.
I think that article is undercutting me. I think that article is undercutting me, yeah.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
I'm the realest one that's repping. Oh my God, if I die, I'm a legend. When they lay me down to rest, I know I was always repping. Oh my God.
Zane, so you're from Weymouth, right?
Weymouth, Massachusetts, yeah.
Weymouth. Interesting people there in Weymouth.
A lot of interesting people. We got some professional hockey players and we got some murderers.
What?
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't met one person from Weymouth or like Boston that doesn't have a strong personality.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
well, it's a place where when you grow up, I mean, you're from Fresno. I don't know how it is in Fresno. It's probably a big mix there, but in Weymouth, you have to have a strong personality. It's one of those places where I appreciate it because it pushes you.
Yeah.
Like for me growing up, I remember like I would walk to school sometimes. And oh man, the amount of shit you hear walking to school, like people will like come to you and start yelling at you.
Just screaming.
Just yelling at you. Or like you'll be walking around, you could be in the park and someone just tries to fight you. Like people fight for fun there. It's just like a thing. It's like a thing. Like, hey, yo, let's fight, and then the next day we'll be friends.
Is it an ego thing? Like, I feel like I think like I'm the guy.
Everyone's trying to be a macho thing, and like growing up, I don't know how it was in your school. I'm assuming that there's some degree of this in every school, but it was always like, who's the toughest kid? Who's the toughest kid? Who's the toughest kid? And I remember like even like there was one time I was just sitting in the lunch line, and I've always been like probably up until middle school. I was always like one of the tallest people in my classes, right? And then everyone else kind of had their growth spurt.
Yeah.
So I was always really bigger than everyone. So like no one would really try to pick on me or try to fight with me. But there's one time there was this kid and he was like bipolar or something. And for no reason, put me in a chokehold. I'm just like sitting in the lunch line. I've never talked to him before. Yeah. We had nothing against each other. And he just put me in a chokehold. No, he put me in a chokehold. And then I punched him in like the gut. And then like he backed off and then they like broke it up. And then like 2 days later, like he was trying to be friendly with me. So it's an interesting place when you grow up like that. I think you're just always prepared.
So what did that do? Let's look at this. How did that help you? How did that help you?
So now when adversity happens, something hits me, it's like I'm not phased. And I have this great line I like to always tell people is, you can't lose if you started with nothing, you know? And growing up in a place like Weymouth, don't get me wrong, it's not like the hood of the hood. There's no like gangs or anything like that. I mean, there's, like a small degree of that. But at the end of the day, it's just a lower working class place where everyone's just trying to make it. Everyone's just trying to be the best in the town. Everyone's trying to just go out there and survive, to be honest. Because it's not a place where you can just go do whatever you want. It's like most of the town, I would say probably like 70 or 80% of the town was just heavily focused on, hey, how do I get food stamps? Like, how do I pay for my food? How do I do these things? And when you grow up in that environment, you realize like what survival is. And when you bring that over to business is survival. And those who survive are those who win. It's not about how much revenue you can drive. It's not about what your company's brand is, your marketing. All of that's good, but at the end of the day, the key thing is, are you going to survive or not? And those that survive the longest end up making the most money and end up winning. And in a cutthroat game like business, something like 90% of businesses fail in like their first 2 years.
Yeah.
Survival.
Yeah, definitely. And metaphorically, you get in a chokehold in business, you're ready.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be ready. And that's the thing. And a lot of people, they get in that chokehold in business and they react to it the wrong way instead of reacting proactively and trying to get a solution and end the thing.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, that's definitely the positive side. And then, if you were to look at the negative side, because with that environment, it worked out for you.
Worked out for me like 0.001% of the population.
Yeah, it worked out for you. So for the people that's not working out for it, because coming from a place where it is like a thing of like, all right, I'm this or that, or it's a lot of things of like, when I hear someone trying to be the biggest person or like prove themselves in that community,
especially in a small pond.
In a small pond, trying to prove that you're the best, you end up kind of playing the wrong game and going down the wrong path. So why do you think that it doesn't work out for people?
Yeah, because it depends on what the pride is in, right? And in a place like Weymouth, don't get me wrong, I don't want to talk shit about it. It's a great place too. Yeah. But for the most part, like the game, especially when you're in that adolescence, and then you go into like the high school and you go into college, right? Or a lot of people there don't go to college, but you kind of go into that age group. What are the things that are idolized? It's partying, it's who can be the coolest, it's who's the toughest, who drinks the most, and those things are gateways and they lead into other things. As much as people, I think I always hear people say like alcohol is not a gateway, weed is not a gateway, and I think it's because they truly haven't actually sat in an environment where they've seen it become a gateway. Usually that's someone who has no reality on that. Whereas for me, pretty crazy. Almost like every single month, I know someone I went to school with that died from an overdose.
Wow.
Like the other day I was sitting with my buddy and I was talking to him and he was like, dude, did you hear about like these 3 people? Like, and I was like, yeah, they all OD'd. And I was like, what?
That's insane.
Like, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And where we're from, it's like an epidemic, right? It's like a very common thing, and it's because people, they try to be cool, they try to do all these things, but then they get hooked on something, they go down this wrong path, and when you grow up in a place like Weymouth, like, there's not much to strive for, Everyone's just trying to get out of there. Everyone, something bad happens, they don't know how to handle it, leads to drugs, and then that's where shit happens like that. So for me, it worked out because I basically took all of the cons and made them my pros, and I got out and I got to a place where I could kind of prosper and grow. But for a lot of people, they get stuck there. They don't know what to do. They have no aim, and then they have, like their only aim is to do what everyone else does around them, and it's usually bad things.
Definitely. And for me, I know that coming from a place where it's like the Weymouth of California, Fresno,
California. Shout out.
Yeah, there's some great people that come out of Fresno.
Yeah,
and then there's this guy's from Fresno.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like when you look at like the top, not even 1%, like the top 0.01%. There's some hitters there.
There's some hitters,
And Weymouth, just as a fun fact, if you ever watched the movie Blow, George Young, he was in charge at 85% of the cocaine in the United States in the 80s and 90s. He's from Weymouth.
Oh, I think it's funny. I think at the beginning of like Narcos season 2 is like starts off in Fresno.
Does it? It's like, I remember. I've seen that. The Mexican one. Yeah. So it's crazy. Yeah, it's some power players and mostly
you
not.
can find them. And that's the thing is like no matter where you're from, you could like it's crazy to hear about some of the greatest people of all time. Like where's this person from? It's like the middle of nowhere, small town.
Well, I embrace it. Like I absolutely love it. Like even though I say all of these things and it's whatever, I actually embrace it. It's fun for me. It's fun to be from that place. Like I wouldn't want to go back and live a different life. Like every single ounce of me, who I am, the real Zane at the core, comes and stems from that. And it comes in a business too. Like when I'm going up against people in business who didn't have to grow up through, and make these different sacrifices or grow up in a tough environment or face adversity, it's like really fun for me because I've done that 100 times over, and I just get to kind of go in like a killer, and I get to dominate and crush. And a lot of people, they get scared in business. They're worried, and they kind of, instead of going towards all of the stuff that's happening to them, instead of going towards all the problems, they run away from the problems. And I go towards them. And again, I attribute that all to being back in Weymouth, because over there you run from your problems. Yeah. Like no one likes that. That is not over there. What's idolized is you run through your problems. Someone wants to fight you, you go fight them.
Just go.
You know what I mean?
Full force.
So I learned a lot of things, but it's just a matter of what kept me through it. I think, to be honest, is I had really good parents. So my parents were just they always like we grew up in this place, but they were also really like they were decent. They were immigrants from other countries, so they like were just here to work, and that's just kind of what they could afford. Like that was the environment. If they could put me in better places, they would. But at the end of the day, that was where I was. But I had really good parents with good morals and good ethics, which led me to be who I am. Because if I didn't have that, if I didn't have those good morals and those good ethics and that strong work ethic to kind of look up to, I would probably be just like most of those people. And I think you look in a town, again, like Weymouth, where I grew up, a lot of families divorced, a lot of families split up, a lot of problems. Someone's dad died from an overdose or something, or mom's not there anymore, right? And that's where, I think shit goes and kind of hits the fan. Whereas for me, I had that guidance.
Absolutely. And I think like that's the key is like how you said people have every single person has a problem, they have a story, there's something in their background that's not good.
Yeah.
And then you'll find the people that either do two things. Number one, it's like that's the reason why I'm not doing things. It's like the justification.
Yeah.
Or it's like this is the exact reason I'm doing it. I'm gonna pull from that to like give me power.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny too because like I'm from Fresno, and a lot of people don't know this, but like I used to be like a D1 athlete, like up at 5 a.m. since 7th grade. Every single morning. Zane's always you guys will see on social media, like, I love to work out and like just that discipline and work ethic, and you apply it to business, you just get like a little edge.
Yeah.
Little edge. So when you're talking about being from Weymouth, and obviously there's like a lot of good that came from that, what is the bad? What's the thing where you're like, this is the thing I had to fight? This is the thought that I kind of grew up on that I was like really against who I am now that was holding me back for longer than it should have?
Probably, honestly, going back there was like, because I was from there, and this doesn't affect me anymore, which is awesome. So I kind of overcame this, but I would say in like my late high school, like college years, growing up in Weymouth and being from there, because in high school I actually moved to a different town right next to Weymouth, which was better. But I always still kept my Weymouth friends and like those people in that group. But I think what happened was being from there, even when I moved into better environments, like in my New York town or in my college where I was surrounded by better people, me being from Weymouth made me feel like, oh, like I'm the bad one in here. Let me do the worst thing. And that's what I did. When into college, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do the worst drugs. I'm gonna drink the most because I have to represent my town, I gotta represent where I'm from. And I think I literally had that for a long time because it's one of those things in business, right? I'm all in. Like Grant always talks about this, Grant Cardone, 10X. Like I was 10X all into the wrong things, which was cool because I had that energy to do it. It was just channeled in the wrong direction. Then when I completely did a 180 and flipped the energy to a good direction, something like business, there's so many pros. And it's all about where you put that energy, because at the end of the day, most people have what it takes in them. They just don't know where to channel it. Yeah. And that's what you have to figure out. Do I channel it down the bad direction or do I channel it down the good direction? And the problem is most people don't know what's bad and what's good. It's another thing. Like they don't actually know what's good or they don't know what's bad. So when I got to be able to actually figure out the right information, get the right guidance, and go down the right direction, I put the right energy there. And everything kind of happened.
Definitely. And it's tough for people to know what's good or bad today, especially because the things that are literally just publicized as good or marketed as good, throughout everything we see, it's not usually
it's not good. Yeah.
It's not usually the good thing.
Yeah, and usually people don't, like, you go on social media, Instagram, like all of these things, you see like the 1%. You see like all of the things that look good and are really easy to idolize and kind of glamorize, but you don't see the 99% of how they actually got there. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things like I want to do with my stuff and my content, and when I'm reaching to people, when I'm mentoring people, is show them the other 99%. Because the 1% is really great for marketing and it's a really good tool, right? It's the products of what you get when you do the right things. But what most people are looking for isn't the product. They're looking for how do you actually do it? Yeah. Because realize for us, like what our goals are, like what your goals are, what my goals are, like we need really good information to be able to conquer our goals, but we're kind of at like step 34 and most people are just trying to figure out how to start step 1.
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes we try to give advice at step 34. People see the products that we have because of step 34 and they want to listen to that advice. But the reality is giving them step 34 advice isn't going to help them get started with step 1.
Yeah. And that's something that I always kind of, I actually take it for granted. Yeah. How much I know, even if it's like not something in my space directly, but like you can go and I can get introduced to like a guy with this kind of business and I have no idea what that is, but just because I've been, when I dropped out of school, it's been 7 years since I've been actually like employing myself, producing producing something. So, it's insane. I do want to go ahead and ask you like this question because like this helped me actually, and it's on that topic of like good information, bad information. Yeah. When I was growing up, my parents were super strict. I wasn't allowed to like listen to music or, like they would limit the music I took in.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily on social media until I was like older. And I hated that because I couldn't talk to the kids at school about what the new song was.
What was going on?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But later on, what that did, it allowed me to look at things in a way where I shaped my own decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get influenced by music, and that's something that when I look at like the youth of today, dude, they're twerking, they're talking
crazy stuff.
It's insane. They're doing, like right now in 7th grade where I'm from, like marijuana is the normal thing to do.
Yeah.
In 7th grade, 6th grade.
Yeah.
So if you were to go back and you were like, starting off, how does someone start step one? How do they make that transition?
Yeah, well, you made a really good point of making your own decision. So first you have to look around and figure out like who can I actually get information from?
Mm-hmm.
And how you do that is you look at what their results are. Do they have good results? That's the first step. A 6th grader smoking weed usually doesn't have good results. Usually their parents don't have good results.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find who has the good results. So what I do is, and it might be hard when you're younger, but you just try to find people that are doing the right things. You try to ask them for advice.
Mm-hmm.
So the first step I would do is go out there, find who's getting results. Second step is ask them for advice and take that person's information. And then what you can do is you start to accumulate information. So you can take it from person 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then realize that their information might work for them, but it might not work for you. So what you need to do is you need to gather information from a bigger group of people, again, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then make your own decision. And I think like what you're saying with influence, that's where a lot of people get caught up. They try to just mimic and copy. But at the end of the day, imitating has never got anyone anywhere. But what you can do is you can take small bits from a bunch of different individuals that know what they're doing and then shape and form your own opinion and your own decisions. And that's what I always try to tell people, like, don't get information from way too many people. I don't mean like go out there and find 100 people. I mean go out there and find 2, 3, or 4 people that you really look up to, you admire, take bits and pieces from them, and then shape and form your own opinions. Because at the end of the day, the people that really succeed in life are the ones that know how to think on their own. That's why like the school system I think is really messed up.
Yeah.
Because people just try to follow a curriculum and they just try to learn the curriculum, and then they're asked questions about the curriculum, and that's the only kind of thing that's going on. They're just learning what's in that book. Whereas I'm more of a bigger proponent to learning something, and then instead of just doing like a multiple choice test, doing like an exercise where you can actually run through a process in your head and think about things, write things down, and then write down what you actually got out of that information. Because I think how you learn is writing down what you actually got out of something. Whereas how most of our school system is built is, hey, just do what this thing says, and that's the right answer.
That's actually like, that was the one thing that unlocked everything for me. It's like I studied how to learn, not even for that long. I started to get results. As soon as I thought about like, if I could help myself learn better, what would that do for me? And then when I really thought about this, like had this thought, I was like, it's insane that I've been in school since I was, 5 or 6 years old, preschool. Yeah. Went through 20 years and not once did I have a class on how to learn or what's the best way to actually like get information to use, which is what you're talking about, like application, right?
Exactly. It's all about the application. And like, that's why like, I think a lot of people, if they're looking to succeed, one of the things that you should really be focused on is how can I apply. That's why like my favorite schools, like all of the schools I've looked at are like the trade schools. Even though those are like usually made fun of and not where the smart kids go, it's real life application.
They're making a lot of, you go to a trade school, sometimes you leave trade school and you're making 60, 70, 80,000 after.
Yeah, and most people are going to college working at some finance job where they're making $40K a year. Yeah. And they're making fun of, the plumber, kid that's learning plumbing in trade school. That guy's building a $200,000 a year business.
Or they get with a degree in like medieval history.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, I've never ever, and I think the problem that always kind of struck me for school, there's a lot of pros to school, but the thing that always struck me was it doesn't seem like great teachers, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't seem like the system actually cares about the individual.
Yeah.
It seems like the system wants the individual to do what the system says, not what works best for the individual. And I think that's where it's corrupted.
Definitely. And like you said, there are great teachers. Like for me, I know that even the bits and pieces that I had with certain teachers, or for me it was like wrestling coaches when I was younger, that helped shape me so much. So if someone is a teacher, like literally you do a little bit more than your job to help impact a kid, dude, that's
going to change someone's life. Yeah. And again, it's not even the teacher's problems usually. Like usually the teachers are actually really good. They're just, again, they're also in the system in a way. They're following a curriculum, and if they don't, they get in trouble.
Yeah.
Literally. Like, my mom was a teacher, my friends' parents are teachers, and same exact thing. They're literally like, they have to go by the curriculum or else they could get fired.
Yeah. So when because there's a point, you're in school, you're in college, you had a thought that was the best thing for you to get to where you wanted to go, and then something happened where you were like, you know what, this actually isn't the best thing for me.
Yeah.
So what happened in that moment? Was it a moment? Was it a week? Was it a few months? What happened to make that transition?
Yeah, because I was making money in college, but hustling, just doing a lot of things, but I knew that I wanted to make a lot more, and I knew I wanted to be great. And for me specifically, I remembered like one documentary and it was like an article with a documentary that changed my life. Was just a Warren Buffett one, where he was talking about wealth and money and how it worked and kind of what the trends were. And, he talked about the largest transformation in wealth and history being the deregulation of energy, and just kind of talking about all these things. And I just realized that if I wanted to succeed in life, I just need to find the right vehicle. And going to school was not my vehicle, nor was it going to give me the vehicle I wanted.
When did you know that, though?
In college, I feel like I knew it for a really long time. I came to actually doing something about it in college, where I was going into like my sophomore year of college. And it's kind of like the way I describe it to people is, it's like trying to buy, what's a really nice car, like a Lamborghini or a Bugatti in a Toyota dealership. It just doesn't work. You're not going to see it, right? And that's what college is.
Yeah.
Like, you might want to go after the Lamborghini, but you're in a Toyota dealership, You're learning information that is directly meant to be applied in a place where you're going to make 50, 60, 70, 80 grand a year. So that's why I realized it's not a bad vehicle, works for a lot of people, but this isn't my vehicle. This isn't what I'm going after. I'm going after the nice car. I'm not going after the Toyota. So for me, I just realized, hey, I got to get out of here, and I have to find the right vehicle, something that can actually get me there, right? Because like if you walk around sometimes and you see like a really hard construction worker working on the street, that's great, and it's really awesome to see the hard work. But at the end of the day, that guy's in the wrong vehicle, He's not in the vehicle if he wants financial freedom. If they don't want financial freedom, it's not the wrong vehicle.
Yeah.
It's all about what's up to you. If to you financial freedom is not important, then you should do whatever you want to do. But a lot of people, for most people I know, financial freedom is important, and money will solve a lot of their life problems. It won't solve all their problems, but it will solve problems, right? So when you look at the dude that's doing construction, there's just it's impossible to make it happen being on the side of the street working for, a state, and trying to make $1 million or $10 million, just gain any sort of financial freedom. And there's no way to really grow, right? So you have to figure out, is that my vehicle? And am I in the right vehicle? That's why I always tell people, dives into kind of like what I always tell people is like, if you don't know what vehicle to do, you don't know what company to start, go work in sales for a company and build sales, because sales by far is the closest thing to entrepreneurship in a company, because you're going out there and you're creating business, you're shutting down business, you're closing business, you're dealing with a customer, you're generating revenue, which is usually probably like the most important part of any core business, because the business does not succeed without generating revenue. And when you get into sales, you learn about that, and that like 50% of entrepreneurship is sales. Yeah. So that is a good vehicle, and then usually in sales you can make usually as much as you want.
I think sales is good too, because you get to go and actually you're creating there's a shift from just like, all right, I'm showing up here and I'm getting paid $8 or $10 or $20 an hour, $40, whatever you get paid an hour, to like, hey, I actually have to show up here and create something and do something, and it's just a little bit more of like just responsibility.
Yeah.
To like more control. And ultimately, that's the step that you have to take to do anything, like whether it's like entrepreneurship, business, day trading, whatever you're trying to do. you have to take more responsibility, and that's scary for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But
totally.
you said something actually at the Toyota dealership.
Yeah.
Because I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like people will be in the Toyota for 70, 80, 90 years, and then they'll go and like actually look around and be like, oh, I'm in a Toyota, and they actually look and think about like what were my actual dreams, and they're like, oh, I actually didn't want to drive a fucking Toyota for 80 years.
And don't get me wrong, like some people want to drive the Toyota because it's less for them to think about. Yeah. Maintenance is cheaper, right? And that's fine. And that's like business. That's like life. But you know, when you work for someone else, maintenance is cheaper.
Even the people that say that the maintenance is cheaper, is I don't care about money. It's at the end of the day, it's not even about like that person. This is what I feel. That person is just thinking about themselves.
Selfish,
but if you were to thought about your family, your kids, future generations to come, to not think about money or financial just stability is selfish.
Yeah, no, I'm a big believer in like when I talk to people, I try to get that out of them. But there's genuinely people that are like, hey, it's not that they don't want to make money. It's just they want to make enough money to do certain things. And that's what makes them happy. And that's, to me, that's fine completely. But I'm in agreement with you. I think the best individuals, the people really trying to make an impact on the world, are going to make money because in order to make an impact on the world, and no one likes to hear it, but you need money and you need resources, and there's lots of things you have to do. Like, who's going to make more of a shift and an impact on a charity? Who's going to make more of a shift and an impact on a third world country? Someone with $1 billion or someone with $100? It's just the person with $100 could go work their entire life trying to help that third world country. But that person with $1 billion can, in one check, change more lives.
And that's like step 34. Let's just say we went, because that's like, like most people can't even think like that. It's just not real. But let's just rewind. Let's just say someone's on step 1 and they actually just really love to play golf, or they really love to go and do blah. If you have money, you can do a lot more of it, and probably you're just gonna have more experiences with things you actually do love.
So a lot of people don't know what their drive is. Like, everyone has a driver, a motivator, right? But a lot of people don't clearly define that. So when they're doing their daily tasks, they don't know what the drive is. So I always tell this to salespeople: find your drive. Write down what your drive is. What is your drive? What is the thing that drives you every fucking day? What is the Lamborghini behind you that's fucking pushing you every single day? And for a lot of people, that's their family. That's where they come from. That's what they want to do. That's the goals they want to accomplish. And people usually have different drivers. For some people, it's survival. Some people are just strictly like their driver is survival. For some people, it's materials. It's cars, it's clothes, it's things. For some people, it's financial freedom. It's money. It's being able to do whatever they want when they want with their own time. And then for some people, it's when they get to that higher level, it's helping, it's creating, it's, you know, having a big purpose so that they can go out there and help other people.
So what is it for you? I mean, because I know for me, it's changed. Like, it started off,
it goes through, I think it literally goes through those steps. You start out in survival, where you're just trying to look around and survive.
So what was it for you? Like, you made the transition.
Yeah.
You dropped out of school. What was it for you?
Moving to California, starting a company, not knowing if I would be able to start, first off, leaving a really good company where I could make a fuck ton of money to go start a new company in a place I had never been to in my entire life. I didn't know anyone around there except the few people I was starting a company with, and a place I had never ever done business in. And I went there, rent was like $3,000 or $4,000 a month. Keep in mind, I'm like 20 years old. Rent is like $3,000 or $4,000 a month. I got a car payment. I got all these things, insurances, like all these things. And I'm starting and creating from zero. And my income is solely based on my production. There's nothing else that it is based on. It is based on, there's no security. It's based on, hey, I have to go out there and create business, sell business, close down business. And that's how I will get paid with a company that is brand new, doesn't have a website, just got started, incorporated 2 weeks ago. No one believes in it yet, in a product in a marketplace that's really competitive. So that was survival. The only focus there, I didn't care about helping people. I didn't care about all of those things mattered to me. But right now, in the moment, my driver was, how do I make enough to pay these bills?
Yeah.
And that was survival. 2 gets into material. Started making a little bit of money. Oh, I'm gonna buy this car. I'm gonna do this thing.
Yeah.
And that became a little bit of a motivator. But you usually get out of that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then you go to step 3, and a lot of people are in step 3. And that's just, hey, how can I make enough money to be financially free so that when I go out, I don't look at a price tag. When I go out, I don't worry about this thing. I can just send my mom 10 grand and make her happy. Most people are in that stage and they're trying to conquer that. And then step 4, this is the one that's the hardest for people to actually relate to and think about, but it's when you realize how messed up the world is, how many things are going on, and that you need to be a big part of it, and you need to help. And that's where usually most entrepreneurs get to. They all start at 1, but they get to there, and that is by far the strongest driver. But for most people, like if you're just getting started and you have $1,000 in your bank account, you're doing yourself a disservice by making 4 your purpose. It's just not going to get you there. You cannot possibly do anything about it in your current situation. So you have to start with survival, and you have to go all the way down.
Gotcha. And that's how I think that, for myself too, it was like a transition. Every time I hit a new level, I had like a new realization of like what it means to be at that level.
Yeah.
And you just realize different things like every single mark. And that's something I want to ask you, because ultimately you hit 6 figures, 7 figures, now your company's doing 8 figures. At 6 figures, let's just say for your personal income, 6 figures, and then we'll talk about your business.
Yeah.
What was your biggest realization when you first made 6 figures?
That 6 figures where I was living. So growing up, making 6 figures would be like living the dream. Mm-hmm. It's like the end goal, the end game, where I grew up. 6 figures, when I first made 6 figures where I lived, was survival.
Yeah.
So that was like the biggest thing to me. My whole life I was pitched that 6 figures was the end game, the end goal, how you got there after working for 30 or 40 years. It's a secure place. Mm-hmm. When I got there, it was like, holy crap, I'm still living like check to check.
Yeah.
That's 6 figures.
Yeah.
And I just realized, wow. And when I was like, I'm positive, like the more I make, this is going to happen. And I just realized I had this kind of realization at one point where I was like, wow, money is a number. And I just have to play a bigger game. I have to keep on playing a bigger game. And I just realized, wow, like, it's not about the 100,000. It's not about the 200,000. It's not about the million or the 10 million or the 100 million or the billion. It's about the game. And when I realized the whole thing was just a game, I shouldn't be chasing security. I shouldn't be chasing 100 grand. It became a lot easier because my mind switched from, hey, I need to make 6 figures to, this is a game and I need to score the highest. I need to be number 1. I need to make more and more and more, not for the dollar amount, not for what it's going to do for me, but for the game. And what happens is when you treat life like a game, everything is fun. It's like, one of my mentors says this, it's like trick-or-treating every single day for money. Imagine you just go house to house, trick-or-treating and just picking up money, right? And that's a game, right? That's fun. That's something that people go out there and have fun with. A lot of people, they don't know how to create that game for themselves, so they're stuck in a situation where they're looking at everything and just analyzing it and studying it, but
or they're just not aware. Like, I know for a lot of people what they think is fun is they're so looking forward to the weekend or doing this or that. But one thing that I did, like, this was like a drill where I had like a shift and I realized, like, what emotions am I feeling when I'm in the weekend and I'm like off?
Yeah.
Like literally, how does my body feel? And I'm like, I'm bored, or I'm this. And if I really studied like how my body felt, or like I drink a lot, and I just pay attention to like what I'm actually feeling, it's like actually not the best feeling. And I looked at what things give me the best feelings, and I just become more aware of like what made me feel good or what actually gave me happiness. And it was like in alignment with what you're saying.
I mean, just when you have a driver, you'll be the last one in the office. You'll be the one that sells the most. You'll be the one that works the hardest because you realize the driver is really important. And one thing I learned this early on in sales from one of my mentors, but probably honestly, like for everyone watching, one of the best tips that you could have: live your life in temporary imbalance and be okay with that. Everyone tells you that you should have balance in your life. I agree with that. But people look at it the wrong way. People think balance is a daily thing. They think that weekly and daily they need to have balance. Monday through Friday they need to work. Saturday and Sunday they need to take off and rest and do these things. Yeah. That is not balance, okay? That is just delusion. What real balance is, your first 20, 30, 40 years of your life, you live in imbalance. You live like this. You work your ass off. You work 90, 100-hour weeks. You crush it, you crush it, you crush it. And then later on in your life, because you created so much, That's where the balance happens. You tip the other side of the scale and it's like, okay, now you have this freedom. Now you have these things. Now you have these resources and you can do the things you want. But you have to live your life in temporary imbalance to actually get balance.
Gotcha. So like this actually is a question I was going to ask later, but I just asked you right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So would you rather have $1 billion? You're working 60 hours a week for the next 20 years, or $100 million and you're working 20 hours a week, but basically like you're locking in both these things for the next 20 years?
Yeah, 60 hours with $1 billion, 110%, no doubt in my mind, because I don't know what I would do if I was capped at 100 million with 20 hours.
So I'd
be too bored.
Is it being the capped off?
Just boredom. There's no game. I want the game.
Okay.
I need more time in the game. It's like saying, hey, imagine you have this game you really love. Let's say it's Call of Duty, whatever people play, right? Let's say you have this game you love. It's like going to a kid and being like, hey, I'm only going to let you play would you rather play the game for 2 hours or for 6 hours?
Yeah.
You're going to want to play the game for 6 hours.
So what you're saying, I'm just letting you know, what you're saying is in disagreement with literally probably 90% of people watching. 20 hours, a week. You have 40, 80 hours, 60 hours to do whatever you want. 100 million, you can't even spend 100,
But when you have $1 billion and you're working 60 hours, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a game. I'm literally telling you, it's like saying, do you want to play 20 hours of the game or do you want to play 60 hours of the game?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's,
because I look at it like a game. It's not work. It's never work. It's never ever been work. Yeah, it's hard sometimes. Yeah, it sucks. But it's like a game in Call of Duty. Okay. Sometimes you're getting sniped, right? You're getting shot. It's not always fun. Yeah. But you get out of it and you keep playing the game. The game's fun.
I'm with you. I'd do the billion with 60. I'd do 70 or 80.
I'd do $1 billion, 100, dude. Like it's like I'm telling you, man, like you have to figure out how to make life a game. Make life a game and everything gets easier. Again, go back to Call of Duty. Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, sometimes you're in the trenches. Yeah, it's really hard. But at the end of the day, you feel good with the game. And life's a game and you're just trying to win, you're trying to survive, you're trying to prosper, you're trying to get to the next level. And you have to look at it like a game or else you will live for weekends every single day. Every single day you're going to live for the weekend. You're going to wait for the clock to hit 5 so you can get out of the office. There's going to be no game. There's going to be no purpose. You're going to hit 80 or 90. You're going to look back on life and you're going to say, what happened? Yeah. What happened?
And, I know you're saying it's a game, and I'm with you. I'm like, dude, this thing's a game. We're going all in. If we're not going up, or we're not going for the big thing, like, I'm just like, why even try?
I mean, dude, life is fun. Like, for anyone that thinks life is, like, that you're in a depressed state, just realize you're in the part of the game that's hard.
When you were starting off, though, how did you get the confidence to believe in your dreams or believe in, like, this game? Because you're on the sidelines at one point. You're in college. You're watching the game happen. You're watching people that you thought had the right things, the good life, business, money, success, a good family. On the sidelines, how did you get the confidence to jump in the game?
At the time, I was scared as hell. Like, don't get me wrong. It was scariest thing to jump in the game. And honestly, until probably like the last year and a half to 2 years, I didn't understand the game. I didn't understand it was a game. I was still living like a spectator. But I realized, it's just really simple. I was my entire life on the sidelines trying to get called into the game. And I had the opportunity to go into the game. Most people, they're living their life on the sidelines. They're waiting to get into the game. The opportunity comes, and they say, hey, I'm not ready for it.
But how did you, what was the thing that helped you?
I jumped in head first.
What's going through your head, though?
I know I want to succeed. This is going to be really scary if I go out there and I fail and, I do bad and I'm going to be miserable and I'm going to look like crap and everyone's going to make fun of me and just all these stupid insecurities. But if I win, if I do really well, if I go into the game and I score 4 or 5 goals, the entire world is going to respect me and praise me forever.
So that was the motivator. That was like
pros and cons.
So
pros. In life, when I do this, what's the worst possible thing that could happen?
Yeah.
What's the best possible thing that could happen?
And it's different for everyone because I actually did the same thing, but mine was more of like, look, mine was like, I'm either gonna die trying to do this because I'd rather go down that route.
Yeah.
Then I get to the point where I'm 70, 80, 90 and I look back and I'm like, dude, I didn't even try. Like, I just feel like, what's the
What's the point?
Yeah, what's the point of even like, I would have more regret if I did that.
And the cool thing about business is you grow to levels where, I mean, I don't know if you ever have this, but I sometimes come to the reality of this, and it's a really cool reality, where my lowest point today, my absolute lowest point, is most people's best point. My lowest point today would be I lost everything. I went back into sales and I made a few $100,000 a year.
Okay. So
I know, and it's just when you have the skill, it's like how do I describe it? It's like being LeBron James. Your lowest point is just being like another dude in the NBA.
Yeah. You can't, I mean, he can't go backwards.
He can't go backwards, right? And there's so much more upside. But when you actually think about it, you could do this, I could do this. We have the skill set. I could go sell real estate. I could go sell cars.
Yeah.
I just know for a fucking fact, unless you took away my mind, that's the scariest thing that could happen, that something happens to my mind.
Yeah.
You took that away from me, everything would fucking go to shit. But there's nothing you could take away from me in the physical universe, like a company, a material, a car, that I wouldn't be able to get back. And my literally, my bottom point, I could just go out there and sell and be at everyone else, 99% of the world's best point.
So would you rather have $1 million cash, but I put you in, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we erase your memory. You're 18 again, the starting point. You have the mind of you're 18. You're the same age.
Yeah.
Right? But we erase what you've experienced the last 4 years. But you wake up, you have $1 million cash, and you know you want to be successful. Okay? Or I take away everything you have today, your company, everything's dead.
And I go back to 18 or no, or I stay today?
You're still the same age.
Yeah.
And you're actually $100,000 in debt. Which one would you do?
$100,000 in debt, 100%. I mean, no, dude, I'd take it even a step farther.
Would
you could take away everything from
would
me.
you go-
I'd go back to 18 with the information I knew with no money.
Yeah.
And I would just do that. I do that right now.
Yeah.
I'd take that. No, I would take you up on that.
Yeah.
If you could somehow give me the information I have today, let me keep it, take away everything, and bring me back to 18, I'd pay you.
Yeah,
I'd give you money to do that. It's like going back in time. I'd be able to get to where I am in 1/5 of the time.
Yeah. And that's actually interesting because you ask a couple of different people that. It's like the lotto winners, right? They get the millions and they lose it. And a lot of people have so much attention on getting the money and they don't actually realize it's actually the experience and the information that's the valuable part.
Yeah, totally.
Because you can't go backwards.
100%.
One thing I say is like I know too much to ever just kind of sit like in a confined space where I'm like limited.
Yeah.
No matter what, like I know too much.
Yeah.
I just it's impossible.
It's awesome. I mean, it's honestly like, you guys ever seen the movie like Limitless?
Yeah.
It's like being in Limitless. When you get these skill sets, it's like it's pretty nuts. Like, don't get me wrong, being in a company is hard. It's not easy. And there's a lot of times being in a company where you'd probably make less for most entrepreneurs. You'd probably be making less in the company than you would just going out there and working on your own.
People don't know that, when you build a business, if you're really thinking about building it 10, 20, 30 years.
Temporary imbalance, sacrifice.
Yeah.
Business is like a life. Business is like it's a baby, and you have to grow it. You have to go through the baby stages.
Yeah.
Some people get lucky, and you get some quick money, but for the most part, you have to go through and you have to sacrifice a lot of things to build a business.
And here's the good thing is like, okay, let's use the baby.
Yep.
We're doing a lot of metaphors.
A lot of babies.
So okay, let's just say you have all the data and information to make sure that baby like grows.
Yep.
You have to feed it, take care of it. You have to have that knowledge.
Yep.
Right? Same exact thing with your business. And a lot of people think you can go and just have all the money in the world, put it into your business, and it's gonna grow.
Yep.
Or same thing like, hey, that baby's there, and you have all this food. You can't just shove it down the baby's throat. It's gonna die.
Yeah.
It's same thing. It goes back to the information, and there is like a process, and you go up in like it's like gradients, levels.
And don't be worried about like trying to raise the baby too fast.
Yeah.
Like another thing in business, right? I know we always talk about urgency and growing stuff fast, and that makes sense to me. And you should always be trying to play a big game, and in any game you play, you should be trying to get to the top level as quick as possible. But don't let that change who you are. Don't let that make you make decisions that you wouldn't normally make, because what you have to realize is it's a baby, and like again, bring me back to step one. I lose everything. Like, I'm in a really long game. Mm-hmm. It's a game that is going to end in 100 years, 120 years, right? Like,
you're gonna have
such
a 100 years.
Yeah, 100 years is short, right?
Yeah. You're gonna be having some like mechanical arm or something.
I know, right? No, I know. I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait until they have the technology. Yeah. You know, I wanna be at 150, 200 before I leave.
We'll be getting the Lamborghini hearts.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that's the way to go. I don't know if you see it now, but if you look at genetics, they're really close to being able to be like, I actually think they can do this. It's more the regulations that stop it.
Yeah.
But they could literally create like a LeBron James. They could make a LeBron James. They could be like, hey, I want this baby to have everything that LeBron has.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, if you have the right information, the right data, you can actually get that lump sum of money and pour it in there and like, you know, make things go a lot quicker.
Dude, honestly,
and faster. But you have to have the information and, you know, the way to do it.
Let's say you're super selfish. You love yourself. You don't care about helping people. Whatever. Here's my biggest tip of advice for you: make money so that you can have the money that when you're at 100 to live to 200. If you have no other driver, you're just a bad person. You're like I think it's something like 1% or 2% of people in the world are genuinely bad. Yeah. Like they're bad individuals. Like they have horrible intentions. Yeah. At least go out there and create so that you could live till 200.
Yeah. Yeah. Worst case scenario, I guess.
Everyone's got a driver.
True. So, all right. So let me. I'm gonna say some random words.
Sure.
I want you to kind of give me just what comes to mind. Okay. So when I say the word fear, just a quick thought on it. You know, what's that word mean to you? And yeah, just
cool. I would say fear to me is just being scared. Being scared. Fear is being scared. And in life, you can't be scared.
Money.
Yeah.
Money.
Resource.
Yeah. Cool. Security.
Just a thought.
Problems.
There's a lot of them. And they never end.
Future.
I love it. It's the game.
So are you operating mostly on the future? Is that like you're thinking with that, or is it more?
I'm just thinking with like, how do I explain it? I really want people to like understand the game concept. Life is one big game. And in a game, what are you doing?
Trying to win.
But like, what's usually the purpose of a game? Trying to get to the next level.
Exactly.
Always just looking straight at the next level. You don't like accomplish level 1 in a game and get to level 2 and then be thinking about level 1. You're focused on level 3.
Gotcha. Definitely. All right, guys. Well, that's Zain Jan. Hope you guys enjoyed this interview. We should definitely do it again sometime.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, man.
It's awesome seeing you. Thanks for having me.